8-2 rational square roots. When we have rational square roots, that means we can take the square root of a number and it gives us an actual number. We want to remember when we do these, if there's a sign in front of the radical that you're starting with, you're going to keep that sign. If there's not, it'll just be positive. And then you cannot take the square root of a negative number. So if we look at our first example, we are finding the square root of 225. The way that we can do this is find the prime factorization of 225 and rewrite this. So 225 is 5 times 45, and 45 is 5 times 9. 9 is 3 times 3. So this is the same exact thing as the square root of 3 times 3 times 5 times 5. We pair up groups of 2 in order to pull one of those numbers out. So we have 2 3s, we're going to pull 1 out. We have 2 5s, we pull 1 out, and we multiply those two. 3 times 5 is 15. So the square root of 225 is 15. For B, we have the square root of 169. Well, 169 is 13 times 13. So we have the square root of 13 times 13. We're looking for a group of 2. There's 2 13s, so we pull one of them out. And that's our answer. For C, we have the square root of 2,304. This is an even number, so if you wanted to, you could divide it by 2. I know that 6 goes into it evenly because it's divisible by 2, and 2 plus 3 plus 4 gives us 9, which 3 goes into also. So this is 6 times 384. The 6 is 2 and 3. The 384 is 4 and 96. The 4 is 2 and 2. The 96 gives us 4 and 24. The 4 again is 2 times 2. The 24 is 4 and 6. The 4 is 2 times 2. The 6 is 2 times 3. So when we go to rewrite this, this is the square root of 2 times 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 3 times 3. So I have all of my number, yes. So I'm going to start by grouping 2's. So this is a group of 2, we pull 1 out. This is a group of 2, we pull another one out. This is a group of 2, we pull one more out. And then the last group of 2, we pull another one out. And then we have a group of 3, so we pull one of those out. And we multiply. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 3, 16 times 3 is 54. For D, we have this square root of 256. 256 is 4 and 64. The 4 is 2 and 2. The 64 is 4 and 16. The 4 again is 2 and 2. The 16 is 2 and 8. The 8 is 2 and 4. The 4 is 2 and 2. So again, this is the square root of 2 times 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 2. We're going to set the 2, so this is 1, this is another, and another, and another. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. So the square root of 256 is 16. For our next part, we are dealing with fractions with these. When we have fractions underneath that radical sign, we're taking the square root of both the top and the bottom numbers, so the numerator and the denominator. So if we look at A, we have the square root of 36 over 121. So this is the same thing as the square root of 36 over the square root of 121. The square root of 36 is 6. The square root of 121 is 11. So this is just 6 over 11. For B, we have the square root of 49 over 81. So this is the same thing as the square root of 49 over the square root of 81. The square root of 49 is 7. The square root of 81 is 9, so that's 7 over 9. For C, we have the square root of 121 over the square root of 225. So again, this is the square root of both, the numerator over the square root of the denominator. Oops. The square root of 121 we said was 11. The square root of 225 is 15, so that's 11 over 15. For D, we have the square root of 144 over the square root of 3025. So square root of 144 over square root of 3025. Square root of 144 is 12. The 3025, we have to figure that out. So we know that it is 5 times 6, 0, 5. That's 5. And 121. 121 is 11 and 11. So this is 5 times 11, which is 55. So 12 over 55. For our last part in this lesson, we are working with decimals underneath the radical sign. It is easiest to turn these decimals into fractions and then work with those fractions. So how do you do that? We have for A the square root of 0.25. That 5 is in the hundredths place. So this is the same thing as the square root of 25 over 100. This is the square root of 25 over the square root of 100. So this is 5 over 10, which is also 1/2. You know, you can leave it the 1/2 or you can turn it back into the decimal. Totally up to you. For B, we have the square root of 0.16. So again, the 6 is in the hundredths place, so that's 16 over 100. Take the square root of that. The square root of 16 over the square root of 100. The square root of 16 is 4. The square root of 100 is 10. So 4 over 10 is equal to 2 over 5. For C, we have the square root of 0.0169. That 9 is in the 10 hundredths place. So this is going to be 169 over 10,000. Did I say 10 hundredths? It's 10 thousandths place. So we're going to take the square root of 169 over the square root of 10,000. The square root of 169 is 13, and the square root of 10,000 is 100. So 13 over 100 is our answer. For D, we get the square root of 0.004. That 4 is going to go over 100 tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So 1,000. And we're going to take the square root of both of these. The square root of 4 over the square root of 1,000. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 1,000, though, for 1,000, we have 10 times 100, and the 100 is 10 times 10. So we have two groups of 10. So we have 10 square root 10. Now, with this, you cannot leave the square root of 10 in the denominator. So you have to multiply the top and the bottom by that square root of 10 in order to get rid of it. The rule with this is whatever the index is, which when all of these were dealing with the invisible index of 2, that's how many times we multiply that radical by itself. And whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So this is going to turn into 2 times the square root of 10 over 10 times the square root of 100. Well, the square root of 100 is 10, so this is 2 square root 10 over 10 times 10. The 10 times 10 is 100, so this is 2 square root 10 over 100, and then that 2 and 100 can simplify to be 1 and 50, so this is just the square root of 10 over 50.